Hi, welcome to Motivating Mondays. So glad you joined me today. Before we get started, I just wanted to say that the last two times I've done this, I've gotten knocked off. I don't know if it's due to the towers and the issues from Hurricane Irma, because we did lose power and cell phones and towers here in this area. I'm hoping everything is corrected, and but if you get knocked off, if I get knocked off, I will start it up again, and so it would be in two parts, not just the one part that you're seeing. So I suggest that you go to both of them. Um, Today's a hard day. We woke up this morning with some horrific news, and it seems as if there's a lot of horrific news going on in our world today. And it's interesting because the card I chose today, hi Don, the card I chose today is called Innocence. And I have two sides to the card. Ooh, I better not be moving it around. And I did all the artwork and the pictures myself, and I created these several years ago. And it says, I don't have my glasses with me, miracles happen all the time. We only have to be awake to witness them. And many times in tragedies, there are miracles. This morning, as I was watching the horrific news about Las Vegas, the shooting in Las Vegas, there was a little miracle also. There's a young woman and her boyfriend that transported injured people in her truck to the hospital. Some of those people may not have made it without them. So they were angels, and they provided a miracle for some people in that tragedy. The card Innocence says, we begin life as an innocent, filled with simplicity and perfection. Life was simple and effortless. As we move through any struggles, conflicts, or changes, know that as one door shuts, another opens. In this time of change, keep it simple. Remember that when it's right for us, it flows easily and effortlessly. There's no forcing in innocence. Be in the flow and rejoice in your innocence. With all the things that have happened around the world recently, hi Joyce, it feels like we've lost our innocence and that it's been robbed from us or taken away from us. And we get into that fear mode instead of that love mode. You know, oh my gosh, what next? And I don't want to talk about politics because that's not what I'm here to do. We each have our own beliefs, and I'm here more of a spiritual advisor, helping or guiding you through the process of dealing with what's going on. I know watching what's happening in Puerto Rico was very heartbreaking for me, and I really refrain from using that word because I know words are very powerful. Losing a child is one of the most horrific tragedies one can imagine, and I didn't have to imagine it because it happened. And hi, Mary. And just knowing that those mothers in Puerto Rico were grasping for water and food for their children, and having the pain of the possibility of losing their child because of this disaster, it was hard for me to be in that space because I know that feeling. I know that feeling of fear of losing a child. And it felt like my innocence was being robbed. And as hard as it is to say that everything happens for a reason, and that our soul contracts chose what's going on for us to learn from, because we're reminded that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Hi, Juan. That in this human experience, there's a lot that we have to deal with. And when we remember that we are spiritual beings and that this place, this human skin of ours that we wear each and every day, is temporary, and we're here to learn lessons. And some of those lessons are hard, very hard, and sometimes very challenging. And so I'm going to remind us that in this journey of life, that we embrace the innocence of who we are. We are created as spiritual beings. And as we travel through this process called life, remember that everything has a purpose. And I remember years ago going to Yellowstone National Park. Ray and I visited with some friends, and we got to go all through Yellowstone. And it was about 2 years after they had had a major fire, and all the trees were downed, and you could see little tiny sprouts coming up. And one of our friends is Native American as well, and he happened to know a lot about what had happened with the fires. And I said, what a horrible tragedy that these fires, we lost all these trees. And he said, you know what, Betsy, it's the story of life. Hi, Susan. He said, did you know that those pine cones actually have seeds in them? In order for those seeds to be regerminated, the temperature has to reach a certain degrees, which is the same degree as a fire. And so in order for those seeds to be germinated, the fire had to happen. So in order for new birth to happen, death has to happen. That's a process we see. And even when we trim back trees, we're cutting off the old and pruning back the old and allowing new growth to happen. And these lessons are hard. I don't make light of anybody's tragedy because I know personally how those tragedies feel. Many of you know I lost my daughter to a drunk driver last year. But even before that, I had experienced many tragedies, or almost tragedies. My first husband was a Coast Guard pilot, and there was a time he had a helicopter crash in the middle of the ocean, had to be rescued, and he had done many rescues himself. There was also a time that he jumped out of a burning plane in the middle of the ocean in the middle of the night and had to be rescued. As a wife at that time, that was very challenging. So I've had life challenges besides the loss of my daughter. And when you're in it, it's hard. But in the process of being in it, if we remember that we are spiritual beings and that there is a lesson here and that there is a good somewhere in that, and we look for that good and we stay in that state of love and not go to the fear, we're actually helping to heal what's going on. We have what we call a collective consciousness. And there's a tipping point. And when we have so many people running around fear-based, we create more of that fear. And hi Amy, when we are, in spite of everything we're going through, when we stay in that place of love and knowing that there's some good here and we got to find it somewhere, and that's the challenge. When we stay in that state of love and we send that loving intention out, we're creating more of that. And, hi Jan, and isn't it better that when we're in a crisis or we're in a challenge that we remain calm and focused and in love? We come up with better solutions. I remember when I was going through some really difficult times, I used to have what I called a knee-jerk reaction. It was the first thing that came to my mind, and I was often running with it. And most of the time, those results weren't very good. When we keep our innocence and we know that life flows easily and effortlessly when we are in this state of loving presence, we're able to stop, think, take a deep breath, and make a choice and respond with dignity and grace, providing more of that happening in our lives. So, I remember, hi Jan, I remember the water experiments by, I forget his name, somebody help me out here, he's kind of put there, anyway, he did water experiments, and some of us know about those water experiments, and I think anyway, and he took water bottles and he labeled them with love, gratitude, kindness, caring, all these positive statements. Then he labeled some of those water bottles with negative statements. And after some time, and he had people go up to them and read those and feel those things in front of them. And after a period of time, he put those water droplets under the microscope, and you could actually see the difference in the molecules of that water. The positive ones had beautiful crystallized plates underneath the microscope. The negative ones were dark and dismal and nasty and almost looked sick. And I remember seeing that years ago when I was challenged with thyroid issues. They thought I had cancer. Every single time they did a biopsy, every time they say it looks like cancer, we really think it's cancer. And so I went and I bought blue water bottles. I had heard somewhere that blue bottles in the sun with water in it does something wonderful to the water. And I'm like, okay, here I'm in this childlike innocence going, okay, nothing that, it can't hurt, right? So I put those bottles out in the sun, but I took my label maker and I wrote pure healing love on the bottles, and I put them on each bottle. So they sat out in the sun for a day, and then I would drink the water. So I was drinking pure healing love, and I was taking that in. And again, yes, Dr. Emoto, thank you. Emoto, thank you, Jan. I really appreciate that. It was Dr. Emoto. And so I was drinking this water, and I was feeling this pure healing love. And, they had to do surgery. They had to take my thyroid out. And as they took it out, they tested it again. Said it looks like cancer, but we were still not sure. And so they had to send the thyroid all the way up to Johns Hopkins. And when it got there, it was no longer cancer. And I really believe that the thought process and the water and all the things that I was doing, giving that positive, loving intention to that, changed that thyroid, those tumors. They changed the tumors. I go back to that starfish that loses its arm and can grow a new one. And that starfish is innocent. It knows that life flows easily and effortlessly. It can grow a new arm, and it's a simple thing. To us, it's kind of a magnificent thing, because can you imagine? So when we talk about innocence, I'm going to read it again. We begin life as an innocent, filled with simplicity and perfection. When we look at life through a child's eyes in innocence, things are different. We have a positive attitude. Society teaches us to think differently. And remember, our thoughts do create. We are co-creators with God, source, whatever you choose to call your higher power. But we're co-creators. We've been given that opportunity to co-create. And we can co-create with our thoughts and our words. And as children, we come in here innocent, thinking and believing anything and everything is possible. Somewhere along the line, we get educated that it's not. And it's really a lie, that we do have the opportunity. So today I'm going to ask that we, instead of pointing fingers and judging and doing all those things, that we go into our hearts and we find the place of loving intention, and we send that love to the people in Las Vegas, to the family and friends, to the people in Puerto Rico that are struggling, that we send this loving light, and that we also send the intention of healing pure love to their waters, because we can, with our collective consciousness, save the water, the drinking water, the water that's there. Right now, I know that there are people sending filters out to people there so that they can filter the streams and water. So we have this ability, instead of staying in the fear and the who's and all that we go to a place of love and light. And I know it's very innocent, and it's very childlike, and it's very Pollyannish. And some people might say it's very naive, but this is who we are. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. And in order to shift a human experience, we need to be that spiritual being and go into that place of divine and utilize it, because we do have that. So I'm going to do a short prayer and meditation, and I'd like for you to join me. And let's get your feet on the floor, get comfortable. Take a deep breath in, appreciating the breath that we have, feeling the energy behind that breath, feeling the love that is present in our lives, and drop down to that place in our heart, that sacred heart space, where the divine is located. We know that we have that spark of divinity within us, that spiritual part. We call upon that spiritual part to be able to shine that light of love in all that we are and all that we do. And we send that out, we send that love out to all persons and creatures in need of it, knowing that healing is possible, knowing that anything and everything is possible, and counting on that, because we know that it is true, that we have infinite possibilities. We are spiritual beings having a human experience, and we remind ourselves that in that spiritual, divine essence of who we are, we can co-create peace, love, water, health, wellness throughout the planet. Even changing minds of those who are perpetrating thoughts of disease and disaster. We heal those minds and make those minds change so that there is peace and harmony, health and wellness throughout our world. And we know this to be true, and we say thank you, thank you, thank you. Take a deep breath. Amen. Aho. Okay. So, hi, Brenda. So I'm going to thank everyone for joining me today, and look forward to seeing you. I really did. I really struggled as a mother. I had to spend some time in a grief process in regards to the mothers in Puerto Rico dealing with children. It was difficult for me to, I just felt their pain, and sending them love and not being in fear and doing the grief work myself. So we remain in innocence. We keep it simple. When the time is right, everything flows easily and effortlessly. There is no forcing in innocence. And I'm reminded of a picture of when someone tries to force something, how it breaks. I'm a visual person, and so today I know that I'm doing and moving in the right time and space when things flow easily and effortlessly. And when I'm hitting too many walls and things are hard and I feel like I have to force them, that's when I step back and ask questions, pray, meditate. And it's funny because usually after I spend some time in that, the situation changes all by itself and I don't have to deal with it. Stepping back and allowing So I want to thank everybody for joining me today. And if you just joined in late, you can watch this because it records for me, for us. And you can see the beginning. And I want to thank everybody for joining me today for Motivating Monday. And for, I'm going to be forming a Motivating Monday group and a Facebook group that you can join. And I'll let you know when that happens so that you can watch all of these. I'll have a collection of them so that you can watch all of them. You don't have to hunt through my Facebook feed. Once I determine how to do that, I will start that. But also I have some wonderful videos and blogs on my website. I encourage you to go to that and watch. I have videos on how to tap through any difficult situation, anxiety, stress. Meridian tapping is very helpful for a lot of things. I've used it for pain relief. When I broke my kneecap, I use it for back pain. I also have a video available for how to muscle test a belief, what we believe to be true about ourselves, whether our subconscious believes it or not. One of the things that I believe in is affirmations. And sometimes affirmations don't work because our subconscious has a block to it. And so, hi, Lori. And so you can actually muscle test your subconscious to see if there's a block or not against that affirmation. And that's why that particular affirmation may not be working. So I also have that available on my website. I have more information about Psych K on my website. And Psych K is a tool that I use to help my clients to change a negative limiting belief that they have in their subconscious mind. So I'm going to ask you to go over to my website, BetsyRosum.com, and join that. And you can also check out my Living Totally Present. There's a link on there, and that's my global message, how important it is to live right here, right now, in the present moment, because when we do that, we gift ourselves with a life of no regrets. Again, you can listen to the replay on this if you just joined me now, and take a breath and send love and light to the planet, and stay out of the fear and stay in the love. Be that innocent child filled with love and light and share that. Thank you. Have a good day.